right, we're rolling now.
Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome. This is Brittni with Gay Knowledge Financial Services. Many of my clients, as well as myself, are ready to take that next step and dabble into home ownership. I know we all have a lot of questions, so I'm here with my good friend Ron. He's going to be answering some questions for us, just kind of letting us know, the do's and don'ts, what to look out for. So I hope this interview gives you guys some great insight, clears up any questions or misconceptions you may have. So, Ron, introduce yourself to the people.
Well, my name is Ronald Tillman. I am a real estate agent here in Riverside, California, but I do service all Southern California, Orange County, Ventura, San Diego, what have you. So, I got it. How can I say this? I fell in love with real estate about 5 years. You don't mind if I just go into the spiel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what happened? So I was living in Long Beach. My girlfriend, who's my wife now, we were living in Long Beach, and I said, hey, and her uncles lived out here in Riverside. So we just come out here and be like, oh man, it's a nice house. Everything is nice out here. Like, and the price was good. So we had a goal of getting out here. So when we came out here, we rented a house, and I said, okay, once we get in the house, we're gonna rent, but I want to buy.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about buying. I didn't have the knowledge like I do now or whatever. So I just took a leap of faith. So they have a family friend, and she was an agent. So we reached out to her, and I'm gonna be totally transparent. I don't care. It's whatever.
Right.
So we reached out to her, and she said, okay, cool. You got to get it pre-approved. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And at this time, keep in mind, I wasn't financially responsible. My credit, I didn't make my payments on time. I was just like, whatever. And it was just bad. Like, it was really bad. But I said, and I didn't think about that when I was applying. I was like, okay, let's apply. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So we applied. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she is the total opposite. She's on top of her stuff, high credit and stuff. And me, I was just, So when we applied, we were like, yeah, she's good, but your score is 540. I was like, oh, okay. And what she did was, she said, hey, I know like a credit repair company you can go to or whatnot. And she referred us to them. Now at the time, I didn't know exactly what they did. I know they just told us to give us their reports when we get them in the mail. I'm just like, okay, sure, whatever. So they worked on that for like 4 or 5 months or whatever. And it did help where I got my score to like a 580, like whatever, in like 6, 7 months, I think about 6 months. But the thing was, the agent, who's a family friend, she didn't reach out to see how you're doing or nothing. She was just, we didn't really hear from her.
Right.
So fast forward, we're like, okay, I want to buy a house or whatever. And I'm not even thinking about her. So we're going around and looking at these new build homes. And I'm like, oh, we can afford this. Let's go and get pre-approved. And lo and behold, we did. We got pre-approved and whatnot. And what really did it for me at this point, really clicked in my head, was when she found out we did that and didn't talk to her, she was mad, right? And to be honest with you, she hasn't been cool with the families ever since.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but my thing was, and it clicked for me, is like, but you didn't give me any direction. You didn't tell me what to do on my journey. Like, you just said,
Right.
oh, we couldn't do nothing for you now. It's like, okay, yeah, go fix your credit, and I got to go handle some money. I got to handle the
Right, like help me get there.
Right.
Tell me what to do.
That's the thing. And so, and that's right there. Well, it comes back. So what happened was we went through the process, and as we were going through the process, and they're like, okay, sign this, do this, and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I really like this. This is cool. And this is cool. And so we end up leaving that property, going to another one because we found something else, and we were just out there finding something until we did find something. And when I tell you, I barely qualified, and I'm gonna get into the process of all that, and I'm gonna show you what happened. Like, I was literally like a couple points away from not qualifying.
Right.
It was crazy, but I got it. And I was like, man, if I can do this and I see how this agent treated me, I can help somebody else. And 5 years ago, it clicked for me. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, that's how it really started for me, is just seeing how I enjoyed this and seeing how, like, a lot of our people
Right.
our people.
Yes.
We don't know that we can qualify for this.
Yes.
We're a lot more powerful than we think we are. Beyond measure. And I think like, man, if I can do it, and my score was terrible, and I was missing payments, I didn't care. I was like, whatever.
You didn't know. It was just like, whatever. I make money. I know this is due. When I can pay it, I'll pay it.
Right, exactly. I missed over 30 days. And they call me. I'm like, dude, just can you stop calling? I had to block some numbers. I'm like, dude, I'll pay you when I feel like it. Like, dude, like.
I'll pay right before you cut me off.
Right, exactly. Like, okay, well, you're going to come up. Okay, let me pay it right quick. Like, I remember in college, do you remember, like, if you go to campus, they'll have those people lined up, want to sign you up for credit cards and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, and you get free gifts? Oh, let me sign up. Shoot, let me get these free gifts. And get credit cards too? Shoot. And
see, that I did not do because my mom scared me. She said, when you go to school, she never taught me nothing about credit. I love my mom. Mom, I love you. But she didn't know about credit. If you can't afford to pay cash, you don't need it.
Right.
She told me when I go to college, they're going to try to give you all these credit cards. Don't take them people money. So I never did it.
Good. It was the 99% of us fell for it. Because the free gifts they give you just for signing up, they don't even care if you approve. They just want you to sign up so they can meet their quota, and you get your free tote bag.
But all those inquiries.
Wow. All
those inquiries.
And I think I had a credit card open up my name too. That's a whole nother story too.
Oh Lord.
And that's why it's good I'm talking to you, because fixing credit you have to fix credit. Like you do. I looked on my credit report as we were buying the house. I'm like, I don't remember this credit card, but yeah.
It's crazy how you'll look. I tell my clients all the time, you'll look at your credit report and your name is spelled 20 different ways. You're like, what? Like, how is my name this many different ways? Like, what does that even mean? It's crazy. And then people, they think just fixing your credit so you can get credit cards and cars.
Right.
It's more than that. Like, you needed to get good jobs. You needed to get into certain programs for school. It's beyond just, and it saves you so much money.
Right.
So much money.
And a lot of times what people need to be aware of, there are these people I call scammers, where they have like these credit repair businesses. But what it is though, and they try to get me on with them being an agent. They're like, okay, well, if we can work together. If you have people you can refer to me, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But you need to sign up under us as an agent, and you can get your credit fixed, whatever. But you'll be an agent with us, all you gotta do is pay $188. And me and Alex, shout out to Alex. We got this thing we always say, all you got to do is, when a person say, all you got to do is, right thing.
Yeah.
All you got to do is, no.
Yeah.
All I got to do
there's so many bad reps names that credit repair industry gets, because it's like every other industry, you have good car salesmen and you have shady car salesmen.
Right.
I get people that are so mad at me and they're like, well, why can't you do a credit sweep? Why can't you just fix my credit in 30 days? I'm like, well, you'll go to jail, I'll go to jail, I'll lose my business, and it's not worth it. So if you want a credit sweep, you want to file a false police report, go to someone who's okay with that, because I'm not.
Right. No. Be aware.
So,
what you got for me?
Your story. Back to the question. So, tell us who you were. Why you got into real estate, which is great. But I also, like yourself, I never see myself owning a home. I always thought that it was just so out of reach. Kind of where I went to high school at, weird area. I went to high school in West Covina, California.
Okay, so
right on the border. So
right.
High school South Hills was in West Covina. Down the hill was Covina, where we all lived at. And then up the hill is where all of, our wealthy classmates lived at. So all of us down the hill, we all lived in apartments, or homes that were rented.
Right.
And, our classmates, friends, teammates, whatever, they all lived in the hills, in the houses. So I've always thought that to own a home, you have to be rich. I not thinking that, I pay rent every month, and I actually got sick calculating how much I paid in rent since I was 18 until now. I could have owned a couple of homes. So, like, what do you tell people who feel like you have to be wealthy to own a home, or that feel like I can never be a homeowner. You know, I work really hard, I make good money, but owning a home is just not something that I can do.
Right.
So how do you feel about that? Like, what do you tell people?
Honestly, I honestly believe, and I can get real deep with this, but I'm not. It's not the show for that. But I will say, especially people of color, especially Black people, because that's what I can speak to.
Right.
We don't have what I like to call, we call that when people pass down wealth and stuff like that, that generational wealth. And what I mean by generational wealth is not necessarily funds or tangible things.
Right.
We don't get the knowledge, you know, that a lot of these other groups are getting. Like I had a coworker before. I remember she was buying her first house, and her parents were like, "Okay, you're having a new baby. You got to go buy a house. Here's the money. Go and give her the down payment and everything." I'm like, "Oh, see," and that's how their culture does it. Like,
right.
And they help. And as far as us, we're not taught that. And I remember I was taught as a kid or growing up the most stupidest stuff ever. I was told that, and don't get me wrong for saying this, but I was told that you never buy a used car. You always buy brand new. I was told that, like, with a straight face, like, oh, okay, well, why? No, you always buy a brand new car. You never buy a used. But that's the mentality that a lot of our people have. Like, so they want to be flashy and stuff, not knowing. And don't get me wrong, you buy a brand new car, it's okay. But you have to understand that that car depreciates. And sometimes all cars depreciate, used, new, whatever. But new cars are they could depreciate so much faster than they used. And when they talk about being upside down on your payments, like you're stupid upside down with that. So that's the type of things that I've learned, that I was taught over the years. So it's the goes to those saying is, if you knew better, you'll do better.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's just us not knowing, not being privy to knowledge, not growing up in certain inner cities and stuff like that, where we didn't have courses and stuff that taught us how to live. They taught us how to be workers.
Right.
You know, it's just the wealth of knowledge. And that's why I got into this. And I'm sure that's why you got into this, so we can bring the change and start building generational wealth in the Black community or whatnot. And just try to, do what everybody else is doing.
I also think it's like what we see, because growing up, I never grew up in a home that my mom owned. Like my mom grew up in a home that her grandma owned. A lot of people, grandma has a house, but mom and dad, or just mom or just dad, they don't own that home. So we need to bring back having the family home that doesn't get sold, or the family property. Sister owns this home, brother owns this home, this business.
Right. And then you do have a house like that where they could pass it down to you. And then you go get another house and you can rent that house. That instead of us just living there and just, oh, that's grandma's house or whatever.
Right.
Let's take that house, let's rent it out, let's take the money, refinance, get another property and stuff like that. And that's not what we're not taught. And
exactly.
Yeah, it's just, it's unfortunate, but hey, it's the time to change.
Yeah, we're breaking those cycles.
Yes.
So when purchasing, well, first let's talk about Realtor, since you are a Realtor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to look for in a Realtor. I wouldn't, aside from going to Google, that's about all I know. But I don't know, what are things to ask a Realtor when I'm Realtor shopping? Because I feel like you should Realtor shop, because that person's going to help you buy a home, which is a big commitment. So what should, people ask a Realtor? What should we look for in a Realtor? What's that process like? No,
great question. So what I suggest is, when you shop for a Realtor, make sure, first of all, that you like the person, that you're comfortable with the person, that you guys can build a rapport. You don't want to get the feeling that person is just trying to sell you something, just be like a snake oil salesman, like, just, trying to make money. I mean, people want to make money, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But I feel that you can tell by somebody's passion about something, whatever, just by speaking to them. And if you could find that, to me, that's a great starter. If you feel comfortable, like, okay, this person can really help me in my journey. Another thing I would ask an agent is, what is your plan? What is your plan as far as, like, I don't know about my credit, blah, blah, blah. What's your plan as far as, like, do you know somebody who helped my credit? Is there like a process that you go through? You want to make sure they have that. And I always say that an agent has to be a Swiss Army knife. So if you know about Swiss Army knives, there are different blades and stuff. So you may have somebody, I know somebody that works for credit. I know somebody who is a contract worker. Once you get your home, you need somebody, a contractor, cool. I have this person over here who does moving. I have this person who made notary and stuff like that.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly, one-stop shop. So you have to be that Swiss Army knife. So you want to make sure somebody has, once you go through the process, they have your best interest and they can help you.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I say. Just be comfortable,
Right. And I know this probably sounds silly. So we know you have to have a realtor.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the actual broker or loan officer, excuse me if I'm not saying.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay.
Do you go and find your own, or does your realtor, is it normally somebody that works in the office of the realtor? Like, what's that like?
Okay. So let me get the terminology down. So a broker is someone, so as an agent, I have to hang my license with a broker. So the broker we're independent. We don't work for the broker. We just have to hang our license and they kind of monitor our transactions.
Right.
So that's what a broker is. So just in case people didn't know what a broker and stuff like that. So as far as your question for a loan officer, typically 9 times out of 10, I'll say 10 times out of 10, every agent works with a loan officer.
Okay.
But it's up to the client. You can go find whoever you want. You can go to major banks. You can find your own. You're not bound by that agent's loan officer. But that, like me, I have a couple loan officers that I work with who I can refer people to, like, hey, go to this person or whatever. And we have a good rapport, So, typically they have their person that they work with. But you're all sound body, mind, right to go find whoever you want for financing. It's up to you. But, I can give you to you. You can take it. You don't have to. There's no obligation.
It's not like, let me try to go find a loan officer. The realtor should kind of help you with that, or have, like you said, have someone to refer you to if they're a good realtor.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. And what are some important things like to know, when purchasing a home? Of course, everyone looks at the cosmetics. I need to have a big kitchen. I need to have a den, have this, have that. But it goes deeper than that. I'm sure, when you purchase your first home, throughout the process, you probably learned stuff where you're like, I wish I would have known that before, I started the process. So what are some small little things that you don't think about before you get into that process, and once you're there, it's just kind of like, oh man, I wish I would have knew that?
I think for me, it's just being educated on the whole process, just having that agent. I mean, I didn't have an agent when we bought. We had one, but she, like I told you the story, she just, whatever.
Just there.
So this is where the whole agent thing comes in place, where they can educate you on everything. What I would have done differently is just ask more questions, but I didn't have an agent again. Like I work with the sales office person who, when I bought the home, so they work for the builder. They didn't work for me. So
you sold yourself a house.
I did. I did.
You were your first client. Okay.
I did. I was my first client. Didn't even realize it. So yeah, just once you have an agent, just going back to what you said about the agent, make sure you have an agent that doesn't make you feel stupid or feel like you don't know that or whatever. Makes you feel comfortable for ignorance. You want to be able to just ask questions. So as far as me, what I would suggest, if I didn't know, just ask questions. Just ask questions.
Okay. And so let's say me, I'm excited, we're people, we always change our mind. Today is, Monday, and I want to buy a house today. I'm going to reach out to a realtor. I call you, I'm like, I'm ready to buy a house, yada, yada, yada. And then an hour later, I'm like, well, I'm not sure. I'm so up and down. So I reach out to you. Mm-hmm. Do you have me sign paperwork?
Okay. So
how does that work?
No, me personally, I don't. I don't do it. Some agents do it. The reason is it's not a bad thing. A lot of times, agents don't want to feel like they're wasting their time, so to speak, because you can come to me one time, ask me all this information, then I may not hear from you. And it happens. It frequently happens. So some agents want to be like, okay, if you're gonna ask me these questions, you're gonna hire me. You don't pay anything or whatever. Oh, I don't know what they charge or whatever, but you don't pay anything, but I just need you to sign this paper saying, hey, I'm gonna represent you. So what happens is a lot of times, let's say you don't use me, you go to somebody else, and then down the line you buy a house and I find out and I can check title and all that stuff, and I can see, oh, well, I can make claim to that commission. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So
And
had you, going back to your first experience, had you signed paperwork with the relative you had when you went to buy your house? She could have.
She could have made claim and said, hey, well, I represented them. I need my money. She had she had claim to that, but I never signed paperwork, so sorry.
And then so that paper, like I said, that paper is just basically like, oh, you're exclusive to me, yada yada yada. But it's something you could get out of, right? If it's like our rapport's not there, we're not vibing right. We spend too much time together. Let's part ways.
Right. It's funny. I have a story for you right now because I really can't talk about it, but it's where all it is a buyer rep exclusive agreement saying, hey, I represent you, and I have to do my job as an agent to make sure that I do everything in my power to be transparent about this whole process and make sure I get you the best deal and work in your favor. So that's all it is. However, you can definitely get out of it if you feel the agent is not doing so. Mm-hmm. So you're not bound for the rest of your life. You don't owe this person like a kidney or anything like that. If you don't feel like it's the right thing, you can always fire your agent. You can always do that. You're well within your rights to do so. So yeah. So I know some agents may want to sign paperwork. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it.
Right.
You don't have to do it. Just say, I'm just inquiring. But if you don't, and ironically, going back to your first question, see, if a person comes and say, hey, okay, before I answer any questions, sign this paperwork. That tells you right there and there if you want to mess with them or not.
To me, that sounds like you're all about the money, because I'm going to ask you, some people will just sign paperwork. Me, I need to read the fine print. I'm going to ask you a million questions. And if I feel like you're pushing paperwork on me, I feel like you don't have my best interest at heart. I feel like you're just about your money, which I get, but you got to be about your money and what's best for me in the same transaction.
Right. And that's why I talked about it earlier. Like for me, you can hit me up. I literally tell people, contact me regardless. I don't care. I like talking about this stuff. If I can help you, whatever. And I have this thing where I look at it as a customer versus client. So a customer is someone who literally buys something from you, a product or service or whatever. But a client to me is anyone, whether you buy something from me or not, whatever. Yeah. If you say, hey, I want to start this process, and you might not even be totally serious, or you may even kind of be up in the air, you are my client regardless. So you don't have to sign anything unless we're ready to do so. I'm going to help you. If you have any questions, please feel free. I love talking about this. I consider you as a client whether you purchase from me or not. So I can walk through the process, answer any questions, whatever you want to do. Hey, I want to see some of these listings. Can you shoot me some listings? No problem. It's easy. Just go on the computer here. Tell me what you're looking for, and I'm more than happy to show it to you. But a lot of agents don't have the patience. And I think a lot of agents a lot of times get into this. How can I say it? You can't get in expecting that you're going to make money this month or next month. You have to get in knowing that, hey, you might spend your own money right now until you get that deal, until you get that. You have to be comfortable with that. Yeah. So your motives and everything have to be right. So yeah,
it's the same too. Like with me with credit repair, I offer all my potential clients, free consultations. I know that people, especially when it comes to money, they're not comfortable saying they don't have the funds for something.
Right.
Come up with these weird ways to not contact you or kind of duck and dodge you. So I always try to put out a lot of information that can be helpful to someone who is not financially able to, get their credit repaired or stuff like that. I'll answer a million questions and things like that. But to be honest, I'm kind of getting to the point where, if you lie to me and you say, okay, I'm about to sign up right now, I'm about to make this payment, I have to draw that line, because if we're conversing, you tell me you're ready to sign up, you're going to make payment. At that moment, I have to block out time out of my day to get your file going and things like that. You don't make the payment after an hour. That was an hour I could have spent with another potential client. It's just, a waste of time. So
exactly.
So much for free, but at some point, money's gonna come up, and we gotta get to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, time is money, so I get it. It's only so much we can do for free, but it's like, hey, you kind of want to. If you're gonna get on the fence or get off, it's no problem. Just let me know, because it's not. I'm trying to be rude. It's like, hey, I have this person on here who really wants to do it. So
right. And so with home buying, or when looking for a house, because sometimes, we see, I don't know, I look at Zillow just because like, oh, these houses are nice. One day I can own a house like this. Excuse me. Oftentimes we'll see this house has been on, listed for these amount of days, or, a house is listed, it's off, and then it's back on. Are those normally red flags, or are there any type of red flags to look for when it comes to homes?
No. So typically, if you see a house that's on, off, a lot of times they may have went in escrow, they closed, and they fell out of escrow. If the buyer couldn't perform or the seller, something happened in escrow and it falls out, and it happens all the time. It does
Right.
happen a lot. So those are not red flags. It's just the nature of the business. As far as any other red flags, not really. I mean, whatever you see is kind of what you get on there.
Mhm.
It's not, because a lot from Zillow, like all like Redfin, Zillow, all that stuff
Mhm.
is fed from the MLS, the
Mhm.
listen service that all agents use. So that
Right.
information is fed through there. So it's not like somebody's put up there and just trying to get you or nothing like that.
It's a process.
Right. Don't go to Craigslist. I will say that. Leave Craigslist
Right.
alone. Now that right there, I can't co-sign nothing. So,
Oh,
Zillow.
Craigslist was still a thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy like a 1984 Atari or something like that, cool. Old radio or something, but don't. If you're looking for
Right.
houses on there, that's your fault. I'm sorry. Leave
Don't
Craigslist.
wire no money to nobody on Craigslist.
Oh my gosh, I've seen. Oh man, it's bad.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about Craigslist.
No, enough about that.
So escrow, you brought up escrow. There are some people who do not know about escrow. So I would like for you to explain what escrow is, and also kind of touch on, what things, like, is there a way to prepare yourself for escrow? Are there some things that you can kind of do to kind of have things not pop up when it comes to escrow and, your loan be out the window?
Okay, so let's rewind it back. So let's say you're in the market to buy a house, and you're like, cool, I found a house, I like this house, let me find an agent. Okay, the agent comes to you and say, hey, we need to get you pre-approved. What that is say, hey, make sure you're financially healthy, or you're
Mhm.
able to eventually get a loan, get a loan for your house. So you go through the pre-approval process, and they pull your credit, they look at your finances, your income, your job history, everything to make you whatever makes you uh, credit worthy.
Right.
So they go through everything and say, okay, hey, here you go. Here's your pre-approval letter. Here you go. You can go find this house for this much. You're pre-approved, and that's just pretty much a preliminary thing. So
Mhm.
once you say, hey, I found a house, I'm bidding on it. You go bid, or whatever you do, whatever your agent goes and say, okay, cool. They accepted your offer. Let's go into escrow. So now escrow starts. Now I will say this: even when you get a pre-approved, I like for people to do this right here. I always say this: sit on your hands. Sit. Listen to me again. You see your hands? Sit on your hands. Literally.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, don't use credit cards unless you absolutely have to. And
Mhm.
if you do, pay them off right away.
Mhm.
If it's an emergency or something like that, I get it. Please don't. No big spending. Don't use
Eat
credit
noodles.
cards. Don't make don't this is another thing too. Don't have crazy deposits in your account that you can't account for, because they look at your statements and they want to see, you get your down payment. They want to make sure that, okay, we can there's no illegal activity here. You're not
Right.
money laundering or something like that getting this down payment, because they look at all that stuff. They want you to explain everything.
Right.
But I'm sorry, hold on one second. Somebody keeps texting me. So just make sure you keep everything as you left it once you get pre-approved. Once you got
Right.
pre-approved. So you go through the escrow process, and what they do is, and I'm gonna go back to my story. So what happened was, once I got the pre-approval, they ran the credit, cool. So I think about maybe a week before, you have to get final loan approval. Now,
Mhm.
what final loan approval entails is like, hey, we pre-approved you and everything about a month or so ago. Let's go. Final loan approval is like, hey, let's see if you're still in the same position. They
Right.
rerun your credit. They want to see bank statements. They want to see your verify your income, your job income, everything. So when they rerun your credit, and as you know, if you get another inquiry, it could ding you some points depending on whatever. So for me, I was so scared because I was on the cusp. I was scared once he runs this credit final approval.
That's it.
I was like, damn, I'm gonna lose the house off one point. And it was a possibility because I had so many inquiries, but luckily, thank you, that it stayed the same, nothing changed, and I was good. So for you, as far as them coming up, don't make any major purchases. If you want to buy a car, please wait till you close escrow and go big spending.
Furniture too. I know that's a big one. People want to get their furniture. It's like, get the house first, then the furniture.
Just trust me. Once you get the house, you can do whatever you want. I mean, if you want to go buy a tiger, a bear, a lion, go do it after you close escrow. Wait, trust me. And just don't do anything. Sit on your hands. So that's pretty much it. Just don't use your credit cards because they're going to rerun your credit. They're going to make sure that you're still credit worthy because they gave you a pre-approval, which is preliminary. They want to give you the final loan approval to make sure that, hey, we got everything. We want to make sure that in that process that, that you've been keeping to your word, that you are financially responsible. And it's more, to me, I look at it as a test to make sure that, we're giving you X amount of dollars in this loan. We want to see, we asked you a while ago to see if you're financially responsible. You said you were. We saw that you were. And now here, let's see what you did in the last 30, 45 days.
Right.
So it's truly telling. So sit on your hands. You. Anybody watching this, sit on your hands.
Right now.
Right now. So as you say, I want to buy a house, don't do any spending.
So if I know I want to, test the waters and start the home buying process in 3 months.
Yeah.
Would you recommend I start putting certain cash aside and throughout that whole process, use cash, have that cash on hand so I won't have to, make big purchases or, anything like that? How is that kind of a personal preference type thing, or what's the safe route?
No, I would say my personal opinion, I would suggest that, you live life like you've been living it. I mean, do you anticipate making big purchases or something like that? Unless it's an emergency or something like that, that's a whole different story. But just, just do what you've been doing up until that point. I wouldn't say suggest putting money. I mean, you want to put money up, that's fine. But, I mean, it depends if you plan on making a big purchase at a certain time or whatever. So, it's just preference. I mean, just be careful.
Because you got me scared in escrow, like I can't even eat. Like I gotta go buy some lunch to eat.
No. If you got food at home. Looking after your
I can't go get gas in the car. I gotta walk.
You might have to do something, but no, if you're getting gas, if you're doing your regular purchase, that's fine. You
right.
Card. Yeah, but I mean, you ain't got. You don't have to take a trip to Mexico right now. You don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to Jamaica. You don't have to go buy that Maserati right now. Just wait.
But Facebook says it's $189 for a 3-day trip.
Yeah. Okay, you can go on that trip when you come back. You might not have a house.
Right.
It was worth it, But trust me, and you'll feel so much better once you close. You do whatever you want, and you just know, like, damn, I got my house. I worked for this. It was so fulfilling that it'll be worth it in the end. I always say that,
Right.
I mean, it might not be easy, it might easy, but it will be worth it.
Right.
So it's just a sacrifice you have to be willing to make.
One thing I've always wondered with the escrow process, and I don't know how true it is by me doing credit repair, when it comes to people cleaning up their credit and things like that, people are very different, and that's totally fine. Some people, which I tell people, it's great, if you want to pay off your collections, pay off your charge-off, but you want to get them off your reports.
Yes.
I've had some people say, oh, well, my realtor said as long as I pay it and it's not a balance, I'll be fine. But I've also heard of people going into escrow and not getting approved because that collection or that charge-off, even though it's paid off, it still affected them. Is there any truth to that?
Well, it goes either way, and it all depends on the loan officer, the lender, or whatever. So what I would definitely say is make sure you pick an agent that has a great rapport with their loan officer to where you can please just ask questions. Just like literally ask questions like, hey, I'm doing this, I have this. Can you please give me an answer on it? And they should be able to go get you an answer and say, the lender said do X, Y, and Z. Because that's ultimately the person that's going to, get you in this process of getting your loan.
Right.
So a lot of times, yes, you don't have a balance on something, which is good. If it's zero, which is good. But sometimes you get with these people, once it goes into escrow and stuff, I don't want to say it, but like they have underwriters.
Yeah.
If you heard the term underwriter, let's say they're not the nicest people.
At all.
If for good measure. Underwriters, I'm not going to say the word I want to say, but they're good is to minimize risk for banks and stuff like that. So they have to make sure that you are creditworthy. So the lender may say, hey, do X, Y, and Z, instructions from the underwriter. But once it goes to them, they can be like, well, I don't like that. You can get rid of that. Oh, what, this collection? No, we can't. No, tell that person to go fix it right now. Do this. So I would just suggest that you just get that answer in writing or whatever from that lender. Say, hey, he said do X, Y, and Z, and you do X, Y, and Z.
Because what I always try to tell people, and I think people tell me this just because I do credit repair, but I tell people it's always better if you're in the position to where you can wait, another month or 2 or 3, get that off.
Yes.
Because one, your score will go up.
Yes.
That negative is off. Yes. And that will save you a lot of money. And people are like, well, all they say is to just pay it. It's just this amount of money. And I tell people the collections account can be $1 or $1 million. It's a collections account. It can be paid. It cannot be paid. It's a collections account. You want to get that off. You don't want them to see that you have that collections account. And I tell people, get those recent collections account off. Get those charge-offs off. Yes, you can probably get approved with a 580, but imagine if you were at a 620 or a 650 with no negatives.
Yes.
Your interest rate will be lower, and you'll be better. There's certain things to do. Pause on fixing your credit, get the house, and start the credit repair back up.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand. See, and I'm glad you said that, because that collection itself could be in the range of 15 to 30 points, and people don't realize it could be a big jump. An FHA loan, and we'll talk about this too, that all you need is a 580. Well, people don't know you can get a conventional loan, which is 620. Some people just want 620. So you get that collection off. Not only are you getting a conventional loan, which the loan limits are even more. Because for FHA, they have FHA limits. In certain counties, certain counties, whatever, like in Riverside County, the most you can get approved for on FHA loan, I think it's about 443 or something like that. But for a conventional, it's 510 in Riverside County. Right. So it's just, doing that extra gets you more. So like you said, wait a couple months, get it off. Your score will go up, and you can be in a better position. You want to be in the best position, get the best rate, everything. Right. So yeah.
So what are basic qualifications for purchasing a home?
Okay, so if you're doing the bare qualifications, if you're doing an FHA loan, which is a very popular loan, all you need is a 580 credit score. Now, what I will say is people think, well, I know my score is this much and this and that. There are different scores. And I wouldn't suggest Credit Karma and
Thank you. Preach. They need to hear from someone else other than me. Come on. Come through with the FICO and the Vantage scores. Come on.
Let me help you with this. So what our score is coming from a FICO, the company FICO, right? And this is what all lenders, your credit cards, your car dealerships, your lenders, they go to FICO and get your FICO scores, right? Now, Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, they give you what they call, I think, Vantage scores or something like that.
2.0, yeah.
Yeah, and it's meaningless because nobody uses it. I've never seen anybody really use it for anything. So, and I'm not getting paid for this. I hate even saying this because I'm not getting paid for it, but like I use my FICO. And what they did was years ago, they said, hey, we have the scores, but we can make people, the everyday person, look at their own score and see what we see, make it accessible to them. So once you look on my FICO, they have like your FICO 9 score. It's the first score they show you. Yeah. If you look down, they have a thing called your mortgage score.
Yep.
And that's what lenders pull. So when you click on that mortgage score, that's what you need to look at, and look at the middle score. So the middle score could be like, let's say Experian, you have a 700. Equifax, you might have a 550, but your TransUnion may be 630. They're going to take that middle score. Yep. In between all three of them. So they're going to take that middle score. And let me give you a little secret too. If you're buying a house with somebody else, they're going to take the lowest middle score of all of them. So your middle score may be 720. I'm good. but your partner, whoever, may be at a 620.
Yep.
They don't care about that 700 score. They care about that 620.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It goes back to the saying, you're as good as your weakest link.
Yep.
So, and I know you preach the whole thing, like how you have a deal right now for like credit repair for, you know, you and your person, like 2 people, whatever.
Yep.
Take advantage, because you're going to need both of you guys to be high, be strong. So don't think, and that's just because you're doing it, okay, that's fine. But the person, your partner, whoever you're going to, you know, doing this with, needs to be just as strong as you are.
Yep. And I tell people too, because people get so caught up in scores, which yes, scores are important.
Yes.
But I tell people, don't get too wrapped up in scores, because when you go to get loans, it's not just your score. I've had clients in the high, mid 700s cannot get approved. Why? Too many recent inquiries. It looks like you're credit shopping. Late payments.
Yes.
Big no-nos when you're going to buy a house and refinance. Late payments. You know, look at your debt to income ratio. I tell people it's all about your overall picture.
Yes.
You develop these good credit habits of paying on time, keeping low balances, not getting, you know, new negatives, not getting your credit run too much. By next year, your score is going to rise, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard when it comes to purchasing a home, they like to see a blend of accounts to show you can like juggle the debt. They like to see, like, let's say I try to go buy a house and I only have 1 credit card. They would probably want to see more than just the 1 credit card to show.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. They just want to see, and like going back to what you said, so when we talk about like how to qualify for a loan, going back to what you said about the debt to income, they want to see your debt to income is not, typically for FHA, I think it's like 55%, can be over 55% or whatever of your debt to income. They want to make sure that you have a job. They want to make sure that you've have at least 2 years on the same type of job. Like you can't work. They don't want to see. They're not going to count. Like, let's say if you work in here at an accounting firm, then one day you say, hey, I'm going to work at Applebee's, quit my job, work at Applebee's. They're going to look at, well, they're not going to count that. They want to see, okay, I'm going to this accounting firm, to another type of related
financials type, the same industry.
They want to make sure that you're consistent. And as far as the different type of accounts, as far as credit, I think some lenders look at that, but they want to make sure they're looking at your overall health, like you said, your overall, to make sure that you're credit worthy. And another thing too, the debt for FHA, the down payment is only 3.5%. And a lot of people, what you can do, don't know that if you have a good job right now, right, and you have a 401k, you can borrow against your 401k for your down payment. A lot of people don't realize that.
Right.
You can withdraw the money out, which, you know, you got to pay taxes on that. That's a whole different ball game. Make sure I'm not a financial consultant, so I'm just telling you what I know. You can borrow against it, where you pay it back or whatever. So there are different options of where to get your down payment. So, but yeah, overall, the minimum requirement is the 580, 2 years related job work experience, your 3.5% down, and you have to have closing costs. But a lot of times you can kind of work that out. The lender probably get it paid for you, or you take a higher interest rate to get some of your closing costs paid or whatever. But those 3 things right there are like the basics, what you need to know.
Right. And then so I get a lot of people too. All I have to get is a 580. All I have to get is a 580. I know, of course, everything is ranges. Let's say someone had a 580 and someone had a 650. No, we're not even going to go that high. Someone had a 620.
Okay.
Is it a significant difference in terms of how much it would save you interest-wise?
Yeah, it is. So what people don't realize, and they don't know, lenders have these things. They have ranges, right? So, and if I'm trying to see if I got it right. So like from 580 to 6, every 20 points, like 580 to 600, usually get this rate or something like that. Then from 620 to like 640, you're in this range. If you're in 640 to 660, you're in this pocket. So they have different ranges, whatever they put you in. So if you're like a 660 to 680, the rates are different. So the different buckets or whatever. Oh, man. Sorry, somebody's they have different buckets. Yeah. So yes, it's a significant difference as far as the rate you will get.
And I think what people fail to realize is they may say, oh, it's only saving me 1 point. But when we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Seriously, like, oh, it's only 1 point. That's if you look at it in the term alone, you're paying a lot more than the other person who has a higher score would. I think a lot of times we look at we only be on our own nose, you know, like we
Right.
just, whatever's there, okay, it looks good right now, but just, you have to look at the end game, the total picture. Like you're spending $30,000 more of the lifetime of the loan, you know, compared to somebody else who was maybe spending only $10,000 or something
And
like
who
that.
wants to do that?
I mean,
if you have to, yes, but if you don't have to, why would you?
like, why would you? I mean, yeah, just go that extra mile, you know, just put the work in and you'll get something better.
Okay, and so one thing I've always wondered about, and it's so hard to even try to research this and get a straight answer. Rent to own homes. What's the deal with those?
You know, honestly, I'm being truthful. I don't deal with a lot of rent to own. I don't really see them a lot. I know they have certain things where like you put just a certain amount down and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I've seen them, but I really don't dabble in them, and I really couldn't tell you too much about them or whatever.
Because I heard some people say sometimes they're foreclosed homes and you have to pay X amount of money. Like I said, I just don't know. And to me, they sound too good to be true. Like I could just step in and just like
right. Like why is
take
it
over?
No, and that I'm glad you took the words out of my mouth. It does sound too good to be true, and I've never really seen it. I've seen people say it, but to me, it's like, I mean, if it's just that easy, why does everybody do it? You know,
Right.
Why does this person have to go through the process, get their credit ran, save this money, got to sit on their hands, get their down payment, all this stuff, get their credit, the DTI down, that's income down, but the other person go over here and just sit in the home and, oh, you're going to get it eventually. Just pay us just a little bit of money. It'll be yours.
Yeah, it's silly. I get if you've been living in a home for X amount of years and they decide to sell
right.
and offer it to you first. That's different. But I'm not going to go look on Craigslist for rent-to-own homes and say, oh, this is me. Here's my $1,000 down. It sounds silly to me. I don't like to knock stuff without, doing my homework, but it just sounds too good to me.
No, it does. That's why I don't know too much about them. I'm just like, oh, okay, well now I'm gonna stay over here the traditional way. So to each his own.
Exactly. And so when it comes to going back to the home loans and things like that, because like I said, I always stress to people, pay on time.
Yes.
Put everything on auto pay.
Yes.
You should. I don't want to get too deep into it, but technically the best time to pay your credit cards is a couple of days before your statement date, so that low balance can get reported. But we're people, we forget. Set everything on auto pay so at least the minimum will get paid.
Yes.
Although you want to try to pay it all off or below 30%.
Of course.
But I tell people, late payments hurt you so much because your payment history holds the most weight over your entire report. Absolutely. It's calculated 35%. So is it true someone can have, and I know stuff varies by the lender, but to me, late payments, can that affect a loan, like a refinance or a home loan, if you have a lot of late payments or recent late payments?
Well, the fact is, it'll affect your score, and the lender does look at it. And I'm gonna go back and use me as an example. So when I was buying my home and I was so financially irresponsible, I was so bad, and I'm glad this didn't affect me. I remember one time I had got my car repoed a couple years before. I had numerous late payments. I had my wages garnished, because I defaulted my student loan. Right. So they do look at that, and what happens is, I mean, if you have everything else, your score is there. What they'll do is, and I hated this the most, they'll make you write letters to explain every single thing.
Really?
Yes. So let me bring you back to the process. And I know my wife was so mad, but because she didn't have that much, but I had so many things. So what happened is they're like, okay, you have all the requirements, blah blah blah. We're about to get final loan approval, but the underwriter, I talked about earlier, the person you don't like the most, says, okay, cool, we can give you the loan, but guess what? We need you to explain all these late payments. We need to explain why'd you miss this payment, why'd you default on this. Like literally, we literally took we were staying with my sister-in-law at the time because we were about to buy the house, whatever, and we moved out our other place. We literally took a table in their living room, sat there all Saturday morning, pen and paper, literally looked at everything I had bad and had to write. It's like writing standards.
Right. This is what happened here.
Yes, and I was like, I don't remember. I mean, I didn't pay it. What else do you want me to say? No,
And your wife's like, no, you can't just say I didn't pay it. You have
no.
to tell them why you didn't pay it.
You have to explain it. You literally have to write standards. I was like, oh my God, is this even worth it anymore?
Like, we better get this house, because if I do this and we don't get this house.
Oh my gosh. Man. But go back to your point is they will make you explain it. Yeah, okay. So if you have the credit and everything else, okay, cool. But the late payments, they just want you to explain it. And
Right.
then if they make you explain it, just do it. Don't gripe about it, just do it. And I think that's their way of saying, hey,
How serious are you?
How serious are you? And to know in the future you won't default any more loans, because it's like getting that whooping. It's like, you get PTSD now. Like every time I think about, I make sure I pay this, I'm buying a house, I don't want to write a letter. I don't want to write a letter. I'm so tired of those letters. But yeah.
That's the first time I ever, thank you, because I'm gonna have to, yeah.
You know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can find that email. I'm gonna send it to you. I promise I'll find it. Well, we had to send the lender these letters. I'm gonna see if I can find it, and I will. Matter of fact,
that's hilarious. That is hilarious. That
I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't funny at the time. I promise you, it wasn't funny.
It is now, because you got the house.
Yes, it made it worth it.
So now you can laugh about it, because these were my growing pains.
Right.
That was your story.
At the time, somebody would have got cussed out talking to me about that, because I was, oh man, let's not talk about that. But yeah, but it was worth it. I can talk about it, laugh about it now, no problem. But yeah, that's what you have to look forward to if you have late payments and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay, yeah, let me make sure I have no more questions. This is great. Thank you too for all of this, because
thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is, like I said, I think I'm scared. I probably could, go to try to purchase a home soon, but it's scary. It's so much that comes into it outside of, the qualifications, because you're going to live in this home for some time, maybe even the rest of your life. Right. So you want the perfect everything, the perfect location.
Right. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But I will say this. You should definitely find a home that you're going to love. Like I've always said, that your home has to be like your resort. After a long day, you can come here and just chill. So don't feel like you have to skimp on certain things, or, well, I don't want this, I can't get this. Get what you want, what you can. You have to be feasible, of course, but go for whatever you want, because you don't want that buyer's remorse. Because you're stuck in this, not stuck, but you're bounded to this loan in this home for X amount of years or whatever, or some time until you decide you want to move and stuff like that. But don't feel like you have to, your wants and desires have to take a back seat. No, sometimes you have to go for that, because this is your house. This is a lot of work you put into something that you're gonna love. So go for what you want. If you want this pool, you want a 2-story house or whatever, try to go for it. You just got to work towards it, but it can be done.
Right. Excuse me. So I do have another question. When it comes to refinancing, why do people typically refinance? And also,
I'm glad you asked.
There's some people that have like more than one house, so you don't. I know this sounds so stupid, but
no, it's fine.
You don't have to pay off one house before you get another house, correct?
No.
So kind of talk about that and refinance. Like, how long should you stay in the first house, or
So let's talk about a regular refinance. So why people refinance? You want to know why people refinance?
Yes. Because we all hear refinance, but what does that really mean outside of a better rate? But I hear people say, oh, I refinanced and now my house is worth this, but I don't know what that means.
No, okay. So refinancing is you have a loan already, existing loan. But let's say you want to refinance that loan, that whatever you owe currently on that home, and you have equity. Let's say your house, you bought it was at $300,000, now it's worth $360,000. It's like, shoot, I'm gonna refinance and take that $60,000 out, or whatever the max amount. They're going to give you like 80% of the loan of value. So pretty much of that $60,000, they may say, hey, we'll give you a loan for $40,000 cash out refinance. So people refinance. I'm gonna be honest with you, especially our people. And what I've seen in my life is literally people will refinance to buy a new car. which is probably the worst thing you could do. Now, don't get me wrong, and I'm not judging you. You do what you want, you know. But if you want to take that money out and you're going to refinance into another loan, whatever, understand that you should at least put that money to maybe another property or something, paying off bills, consolidating your bills and stuff like that. Don't do it for the wrong reasons, just to, you know, go get a car. I mean, if you have to go do that, make sure you're using some of that money to take care of business as well.
Right.
So what happens is with the refinance, so now you owe, let's say you owe $290 on let's say $290 on the house. You know, as you've been paying it for years, you owe $290, right? So now when you refinance, you're refinancing at that how much you took out. So that's $290 plus the $40,000, whatever you took out or whatever. So now you're doing a loan off the $330 now. So the money you owe plus that. So now you're doing a refinancing the loan on that. You know, so that's what that is. Or they can call it taking out a second mortgage, whatever it is. So you still have that regular mortgage that you were paying the $290 that you owe, but over here that $40,000 you have a separate.
Right, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it'll do, like that, or you do a refi cash out, and where you just pay the increased amount on a new loan.
So sometimes people refinance if they have to do like a big repair on the house or.
Exactly, like and that's why I tell people, you know, it's so many benefits to owning a home. I mean, the tax benefits, you get incentives. I remember when Barack Obama was president, he gave, was it like $5,000 incentive?
$8,000. I heard about that.
$8,000, yeah, something like that. So tax time, you got an $8,000 credit just for buying a home.
Yeah, I remember that.
You can write the interest off and stuff like that. So I mean, there's so many benefits, and you could, you know, when you have so much equity, like right now, the home values are going up right now because it's crazy. It's a crazy market right now.
Right.
You can take that equity out, take it out, pay your bills off, get financially better. You know, you can take it and go put a down payment on another property. And go back to your question, no, you don't have to sell your home, but you have to show so much income or whatever. And it's a process, and I can get that information for you. Whereas, okay, you take this loan out, but they're going to look at, the payments, your debt to income. Well, you have a mortgage over here, you know, let's see how much you make to be able to show that you can pay 2 mortgages. So
and do you explain to them like, oh, I want this one, I've been paying on this house for 10 years. I now want to upgrade or to downgrade, and this will be a rental property. Like, do you explain that to them, or do they not care? Is it just, oh, we don't care about none of that? Or how does that?
They do care, because they want to see, okay, I want to take over here, and I want to go and get this house over here. I want to make this my rental property. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna rent it out. So they have the idea that you're gonna rent it out and get money from it. However, they want to make sure that in the cases that you can't rent it out right now, that you can pay your current mortgage over here and the current mortgage over here until somebody rents it out, because we don't know there's no guarantee that somebody's going to rent your place out. So they can see your finances and see, do you have enough income and everything else to be able to build 2 mortgages.
Got it.
Right. So it's a process with that. What a lot of people do is for investment, and I'm just going to throw this out right now. Let's say you want to buy a house, right? But you also want an investment property. A lot of people will do is they'll buy a 3-family unit, like what do you call those?
Like duplexes,
triplexes, whatever.
That's my goal.
Right. So what people do is, and I'm gonna let you know the secret. What they'll do is they'll say, "Hey, I'll buy it. What I do is I'm gonna live in it, and I'm gonna rent the other ones out. The rent you make from those other ones pays your mortgage and puts money in your pocket. So you're living for free and making money.
Right.
So you could use an FHA loan for that.
So you can specifically say this is an investment property. You
can do it as investment.
Got it.
In the FHA loan, the thing is, I think you have to live in the property, but you are living in it because you're taking up residency in one of the in one of the duplexes or triplexes or what have you. So you can do that.
That's definitely goals for me. A small apartment complex or duplex.
Brittni, you could do it right now if you wanted to.
I'm gonna do it.
You could do it. It's not. People think it's. I'm talking to you. I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to everybody.
Right.
Especially for our people, understand that you can qualify for a home loan. It's not hard. You just have to put the work in. You just have to have everything. It's not like going and buying an Apple Watch or buying an iPad or going to getting approved for a credit card. You know, it's not a black and white thing. There's a gray area where you didn't qualify right now, but that's no problem. here's what you need to do. Here's your steps. And that's why I tell people, go through the pre-qualification process right now with the lender. They may come back and say, you know, at this point, you may not qualify, but I recommend credit repair. I recommend you paying this off. I recommend this off. It's up to you if you want to do it or not.
Right.
But if you want to attain that goal of home ownership, I would suggest taking that information and just going hard and say, okay, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Give myself 2 or 3 months, and I come back and voila, I'm coming back.
Yeah, because my goal was 2022.
22? Okay.
But now I ideally by my birthday next year, which is in August, but I'm giving myself until the end of next year. That's my goal. That will make me comfortable. I'll have
whatever makes you.
I gotta have some cool neighbors because I gotta have a big party.
No, absolutely.
You gotta have that big party where you gotta break it in. You gotta break it.
No, absolutely, man. Speaking of neighbors, I'm dealing with something right now. But I'm gonna tell you a story right now about my journey, and I like to be transparent because I don't want people to think that agents are like ministers or pastors, that we have the perfect credit, that we're just, you know, the upper echelons of financial responsibility. Because I still suffer from this day. Yet I still pay my stuff on time and whatever and this and that. But my balances sometimes are high, whatever, you know, are good. But so let me tell you. So right now, we're moving. And we bought a property, bought a house, whatever, right? It's being built or whatever.
Being built? Oh, see, I want to be like you.
No, but
from the ground up. That's what I'm talking about.
No, and it's a brand new build, it's a new community, whatever. And that's how we bought our first one. When we bought our first house, I remember I said I didn't have the agent. She bought the new builds. It wasn't an existing home. So we're doing it right now. So let me tell you about this right here. So we started this process, I would say last October. I kid you not. I went there and said, okay, let's get pre-approved. They run a credit, and they said, well, for mine, it was lower than it should have been. They were like, okay, do X, Y, and Z. Give us a couple months, and we'll rerun it and see if we can get you pre-approved. So I did that. October went to December. Never forget this. December came about. Okay, cool. I did what I was supposed to do, and I reran my score. So the lender, I'm talking to him, like, okay, cool. We can see if we can get you pre-approved, and we could go forward. And mind, this is December of last year. They said, okay, and last time he had called me, and I missed his call. Kept calling him. He didn't answer. Okay, called him next day, didn't answer. He went ghost. And a lot of times these people, and I hate to say in real estate, instead of telling you the bad news or whatever, they just won't answer your calls. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, which I don't believe in. I'm just gonna be straightforward with you, whatever. So because I know it's an easy fix. So anyway. So as we're doing it, I'm like, okay. So supposedly he passed the loan to somebody else, whatever. So this other lady, she was straightforward. So we went to the office to talk about, get pre-approved, and she was like, oh, well, unfortunately at this time we can't do it. This was in December, right? No, in December or January, something like that. So we went there, and I was like, oh, okay. And what you need to do is work on this, blah, 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 blah. And so what I did for the next, I'll say we did from January until May. Paid off so much stuff, so many things. I think I had one collection come back on my account. I got rid of that. I mean, I'm working like, that's why I say 2020 to me, and no offense, anybody don't take offense to this, but 2020 to me was a good year despite what's happening, because we were able to sit down and just really focus on same thing, finances, and we got the stimulus check, and that helped and stuff like that. That was a time to really, really step your game up.
Bring out the inner hustler.
It did. So for 5 months, we were just paying stuff off, and what we do is we pay off one credit card, then that money that I pay on that credit card goes towards another credit card. Right. So then I'm paying more down, paying this off, just really working. And back in May, we went back to that same loan builder, same loan officer. She reported, she's okay, cool. Okay, we can pre-approve for this now. And so we got pre-approved, we got the house, and it won't be ready till March, April.
Congrats.
So, yeah, and thank you. So that's where we're at. So I tell that story to show that, I'm just like anybody else. I struggle too, and I understand. But I do also understand that if it's something that you really want, you'll go after it.
Yeah.
It just takes a little time. It's not going to be overnight. So I don't want people to get discouraged if they not get approved. Just understand that it's a process and it can be done. You can do it. If I can, you can.
I tell people too. Like I said, I was not taught about credit. I think the first time I really even tried to pull up my credit, well, I got a Macy's credit card. My first credit card. I was no, I was 18. Matter of fact, I remember I was scared because my mom told me don't do it. Right. Macy's gave me $100. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. Right. I'll never forget this. Me and my friend, we went and bought shirts so we could go to Six Flags. Of course, I didn't pay that back. Like to me, it was free money. But free money.
Yeah.
The card I ever had, and I think what saved me is I always made good money. So when it was time to move or whatever, I made good money. So double deposits was no problem. I always paid cash for my cars because my mom always told me, you can't afford to pay cash, you don't need them. So I was always covered. But I started getting older and I'm like, this ain't right. Like I know people with credit cards and I felt like I had to do better. And then also with school, my credit wasn't that good. And to get into the law program, I had to have better credit than for my job. So I started looking into it. I was in the 400s. And I'm like, what? And all I had was that one Macy's name and thing on there. And I was like, I have to do better. And I tell my clients, I went through the struggle. It's weird how once I started to work on my credit, that's when all the denial started happening. And I tell people, I wasted so much money paying more money, having to live in certain areas because my credit wasn't good. To live in certain areas, I had to, pay more, double first, last, and, a high deposit, which is equivalent to first month. And it's stressful. Moving already sucks, plus add in, having to get approved, having to find loopholes. I tell people, I went through the struggle. I went from the 400s, worked my way up. The 500s is the hardest to get out of. I don't know why, but it is. I tell everyone, I went through that. I went through it, and once I did it, I became everybody around me. I'm like, nope, gotta fix your credit, because this, because that, because this, because that. And it's crazy how it feels good now to be able to go into the bank. Like, I want to purchase this car. I need a bank loan, which is what I just did a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
I had to show them how I made all this great money.
Right.
Basically beg them to give me this car with a 300% interest rate. So, I tell people I've been through the trenches of the credit. So,
yes.
And I wish I would have taken, of course it varies, but I wish I would have really taken a year to learn financial literacy, learn about credit, fix and build up my credit, and I would have saved so much money.
Right. But
so much.
You went through that so somebody else wouldn't have to.
Right. So I tell them, I know, like, don't be embarrassed, because I proudly tell people, I was in the low 400s, like 412. That was like 380 to, but
right.
I tell them just because it's like, I'm like you, and I believe you're never too old to repair your credit. Everyone can get good credit. Everyone can learn. And two, I tell people, once you fix your credit, it kind of helps you more responsible with your finances, because you're like, if I get one late payment, my score is going to drop 50 points and I'm going to cry. So it kind of forces you to do other things. And that's what we need in our communities. We need that.
Right.
We need that financial literacy. And, you, like myself, big sports fans. My thing, I want our kids to know that we care about you outside of sports. We care about you knowing, yes, if your goal is to go pro, I want you to go pro, but I want you to understand the contract. I want you to understand how you're being taxed, where your money's going. And I feel that all ties, and you need to own things. You need to own a home,
Right.
Don't go rent condos in, the Midtown area for $10,000 a month. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
It is. But I just think, I think with social media is good, because now I see a lot of our people, talking about finances now, and it's starting to be cool now. You know what I mean? The cool thing.
Yeah.
Health is wealth and all that stuff. So, I think it's, and that's one thing about COVID too. I'm not gonna say I liked, but people sat down, had time just to sit and just think and look and become innovative and more aware of things and trying to make themselves more financially responsible and try to, get their business going. So I think it's starting to happen. It's just up to us to continue the trend, even after the pandemic is over, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. So you service pretty much all of Southern California. If we need a home, you can help us with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so definitely we're going to post all your social media handles. And do you have any more advice or anything else you'd like to touch on?
I would say that, again, just know it's possible. Don't feel like asking a question or you feel stupid asking a question because you don't know. It's okay. Like, if you don't know what's a FICO score, what's Experian, what's Equifax, just ask. It's okay. Like, we're not preachers. We're not beyond everything else. Like, well, you don't know this. My credit score is 800 something. You should be perfect. Like, no, we struggle like you. We're just like you. So if you ever just question or just want to just know about the process of fixing your credit or buying a house, just ask. That's all I'll say. Don't be scared. Just step out on faith and just ask.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. So we'll make sure both of our handles are
absolutely
listed.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. I wish it wouldn't have ended. It seemed like we could talk like this forever, but I understand what got to do. So
we'll definitely have to do another one and get touch deeper on different, topics for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, real quick, let the people know what else you have going on, because you have a podcast, which is amazing. What are you guys, like, 9-10 months in, you and Alex?
Yeah, it's the Freak It podcast. I actually tagged that too. We started in November of 19, and we're about to start doing episode 22. So we talk about any and everything, like social media, sports, just anything, going on in the world. And we just like to have fun or whatever. So yeah, you
gotta be ready, because there's some clowns, and I mean that in a good way.
No.
They're not gonna sugarcoat nothing. So
no, and let me help you understand this too. For you watching this, yes, I do take my real estate business serious. I be professional, but at the same time, I like to have fun and clown too. I'm not, stick in the mud. I know. So when I take the real estate hat off, it's like, it's time to clown. It's time to just do my opinion. I don't care. I say what I want to say, but it's all in good fun, good, in good nature, so to speak.
Right.
So just understand that, I can be professional, but I can also be righteous.
Let me go ahead and say something that you really hate. No cap.
All right, this conversation's over,
Listen to the podcast and you'll know why I said that.
Yes, I forgot what episode it is, but just go and tune in to the Freak It podcast. Again, I appreciate it. Appreciate this conversation.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Thank you, and you have a good weekend.
All right, you too. No more drinking.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.